You've got a lot of pushback to do this morning.
Yes, yes.
We mentioned Silla. The other one we haven't mentioned yet is Yahya Jammeh.
Yeah.
Trying to drag your party leader's name in the mud.
Exactly. You know, I think both of them are people who really need to sit back and think again, because they are talking to Gambians, and we are not going to fall for this kind of thing. We are smart, intelligent people, and who will see through all of this. You know, I don't usually come to this show with any notes or anything, but today I brought something because I wrote down points that she was making when he was here.
Silla. Oh, you're starting with Silla. I thought you wanted to start with Jammeh.
Okay, we can start with Jammeh.
Yeah.
You know, Jammeh, when he said Ousainou Darboe and co were involved in selling of our oil to Senegal, I said, when will these guys stop? For the 22 years he was at the head of this country, he couldn't stop besmirking Ousainou and casting as much mud as they could on him, hoping that sling enough mud, some will stick. And he said everything about Ousainou, from calling him a tribalist, calling him all sorts of names, throughout the 22 years, and tried to destroy him politically and even physically, had him arrested, beaten up, broke his collarbone and all of those things.
Oh, wow.
And he suffered terribly.
I wouldn't want to be an Ousainou Darboe.
Yes, you know, and that's the thing, because being a leader often is very lonely. You stand alone because you believe in principles.
It can also be painful.
Painful.
Having your collarbone broken.
Yeah, exactly. And bundled like that to mile 2 with a broken collarbone, you know, he went through hell with Jammeh. And he suffered all of that. He stood firm. He stood by his principles. He didn't waver. You did that for 22 years. And eventually failed. And so now he's blaming Ousainou for his fall from grace. So that cannot stop. But when I heard this, I said, when will these people
learn? Well, he's actually blaming Ousainou for helping
Senegal
gift our, you know, oil reserves. Well, maybe not reserves, oil reserves to Senegal.
Yeah. Because these are potential resources that we should ask Barrow what happened to them, and him, Yahya Jammeh, what happened while he was there. But we
remember the popular waving of a CD on which was supposed to be all the data about Gambia's, you know, oil deposits and what have you.
And the sad thing is that these people forget that they are not alone in this country. Other people are here who have seen things. When I was at the African Development Bank, we saw some of the things that were happening in the oil industry here with Jammeh, all the contracts he was giving, the poorly designed, and which were giving us peanuts for our oil reserves. We tried to make that change, and we did what we could. We sent the people from the African Legal Support Facility, which was hosted at the ADB, to come here to negotiate, to change those contracts and redo them. He refused to talk to them in the end, and they stopped coming. Once I called, you know, the head director of the department, Steve Karangizi, a friend of mine, and I told Steve, you really need to help. He said, Lamin, we are not going back. He said, Jammeh doesn't want to talk. This guy is just not listening. He said, there's nothing we can do about it. He's going to do what he wants, and we can't do much about it. And we were all upset because he was giving away what we had. When he when he was removed from power and he went on in exile, we talked to Steve Karangizi again. Steve said, okay, reluctantly, I will send a team. He sent a team out here to come and renegotiate those contracts, free of charge for the Gambia, to redo those contracts so that we can get a lot more out of our oil reserves.
Was it with FAR, this Australian
FAR was part of it, yes. Okay. With also Frank Timis and a few other people.
Okay.
So Steve Karangizi fielded a team here to come and work on this. This was 2017. And all of those things happened. And today he sits there and tells us that he refused to sign contracts, he did this, he did that, and he paid for the exploration. I say, look, wait a minute, you know, you've got to have some dignity in you. You know, after all that he's been through and after all that he's put the Gambia through, sitting there, he should at least start to repent a bit and be a bit more modest and a bit more truthful.
Well, listen, Ousainou Darboe should also...
Ousainou Darboe,
he should come out.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You don't think he should come out?
People have asked me, did you talk to Ousainou? I say, that would be the biggest insult I could, you know, level at Ousainou, to ask him if he has sold our oil reserves. Say, I know this man.
Yeah, but he has to correct a wrong if that's what...
No, I think we will do that for him. I don't think Hussein should even dignify this with an answer. Hussein Dabo, of all people, when he was there as the dictator in this country, he wanted Hussein on his side. Hussein refused. If Hussein wanted to do these things, he would have done it. When Barrow came, he started working with Barrow. If he wanted to be corrupt and to sell those things and the like, he would have stayed with Barrow. But it's because he doesn't want to get into anything that is demeaning, that is going to be unfortunate for this country and wrong for this country and its people. That's why he eventually fell out with Barrow.
Well, Barrow said he was undermining his authority.
That's what Barrow would say, because Barrow was the one who stood and told us that from 2017, Fabakary Tombonjata and Sidi Njai came and told him, we can help you stay and make money, but you have to get rid of UDP. He said initially he was shocked, but then he listened to them and they thought they were right. So he got rid of UDP. It's not because UDP was undermining him, but because Sidi Njai and Fabakary Tombonjata made him understand that they can make him rich and stay in power for as long as he wanted if he worked with them. That's how he threw out UDP. So he said that himself. Nobody forced him to say it. He said it on TV. So he cannot turn around and tell us another story. So we know what happened. Hussein Dabo was foreign minister and then vice president. He was not even in charge of petroleum. And if he were in charge of petroleum...
Well, Jammeh's argument is Hussein Dabo was de facto, ruler at the time. He ran the coalition that was running the country.
Yeah, that's what he would say, and all those people who talk about this, they say, oh, UDP owned the country, owned the government, etc. When they say this, link like UDP owned 75% of the ministries. We had only 3 ministers in that government, people forget. Hussein Dabo, Amadou Sane, and Lamin Manneh. Those were the only 3 ministers we had in the government. So we are a minority in that government. And what's more, Barrow was the person taking all the decisions. And we know a lot about that. From the very first time the things were happening, and when, for example, he wanted to give these contracts to Car Power and a few other things in energy sector, our colleagues in the World Bank, I was at the ADB at the time, alerted us, say, don't do this. The Gambia is shooting itself in the foot. We have just finished negotiating a $1.7 billion
dollar, not dollars.
Dollars. Oh. 1.45 billion euros.
This is the Brussels
round
table. Okay.
1.45 billion euros, which was $1.7 billion for the Gambia. Mm-hmm. But these were commitments. They were beginning to come in. Mm. And you go and do something so unethical. World Bank called us and said, look.
Why was signing a, independent power production deal with Car Power ship unethical?
It's the way it's done. When you do these things, you do it through open bidding.
Oh, okay.
You bring in people openly and do it, and people will see the transparency and integrity in what you're doing. When you go behind, and do these things, people start looking, wait a minute, what's happening here? We're getting back to the same ways of Jammeh and the rest, the opaque deals, the breaking of the rules, etc. So people start asking questions. They say, don't do this. I call here at the time. We don't like to talk about these things because there's supposed to be some level of confidentiality in these things. But when they go out to make these kind of things, you don't have a choice but to call them out. I called here at the time. I called Amadou Sane. I said, Amadou, what are you guys doing? This can't happen. But Amadou had just been moved to
trade.
Mm. He said, well, I told the president we shouldn't do this, and he overruled me. So it's going to be signed. I said, you're going to hurt the country. He said, I don't have any choice. In fact, he was coming, actually, when I told him, he said, I'm coming to Abidjan for another negotiation. So we went in Abidjan. That's when he told me this. I said, it's unfortunate. Mm. So these things were happening. So Hussein, on quite the opposite, and Amadou were trying to do everything to protect this country, to protect the resources of this country, and to put it back on track after 22 years of an autocracy. But no, they couldn't take that because they had sold to him, to Barrow, the idea that he can become wealthy. So he co-opted, of course, all the people who were around Jammeh, who he brought in to recycle them, to do for him exactly what they were doing for Jammeh. That's why we had the chief of protocol, Cisse. That's why we had Mamboure Njai come in to petroleum and then to finance to replace Amadou Sane, because Amadou wouldn't do certain things. This was the guy, Barrow, who said Amadou's arm is cut just above the shoulder, so he can't reach his pocket. Amadou wasn't giving him money. This is what was happening. And there were so many other things we knew about this here, including our guys who were at the Financial Intelligence Unit here. We had to take one of them to the ADB because he refused to do certain things. So let them not push us. We know too much. So there is so much we can say. We should refrain from saying, because of state confidentiality.
They accuse you of misinformation. You had Suleiman Kamara.
That is projection. So I don't even talk to those people. We're talking to their boss who put them there. Their boss is the corrupt one who's encouraging corruption. So we don't talk to those ones. Those are that's projection.
Well, he also spoke about the lack of unity in the UDP.
Well,
and this morning the standard is saying Dabo asks UDPians to unite. So what's dividing you UDPians?
Look, UDP is a team and a party full of talent and people who naturally have ambitions. So he, as the party leader, will sometimes have to arbitrate and then try to bring people together. That's normal in any institution where you don't have the herd mentality. People will disagree on things. People come up with ambitions, etc. That's normal, okay. But most of the time, that is contained within the UDP. We do have our fights. We do have our discussions, our harsh discussions sometimes. We do. But as a family, and it stays inside, you hardly ever hear it go out, or you just hear briefs here and there. But that's normal in any institution. But what we heard today, what Alkali Conte just wrote to his minister, I was like, whoa, dissension within the ranks. And I love it.
This would not happen with a UDP government?
Certainly not. Certainly not. No ambassador would dare say that to a minister. You have something like that you want to say? If you really want to say it, you'll call the president and the ambassadors and the minister and you talk about it in private. Not a scathing condemnation like that.
But if, as he alleges, the minister has never even had a meeting with his ambassadors and other diplomats, how would you address that with him?
Yeah.
It's only to come out in the open. Now,
the minister...
Now they will be scampering, to contain, this crisis.
Yeah. The minister, what he said was unbecoming. He should have said that in another closed-door meeting somewhere, not in public as he did, But he did say it. But what he said was nowhere near the scathing remarks we had this morning from Alkali Conte. Any ambassador who puts out something like that, you should be recalled immediately. Immediately. Because this is so unbecoming of a diplomat. You cannot just condone that. But that is what we're seeing every day in NPP and the government. Because you have too many chiefs and thieves. It's just so unbecoming of any government. We may agree or disagree. Sometimes we just agree to disagree. But you don't come out and see these sort of things in public against each other.
I mean, I couldn't have any other word for it other than extraordinary, unprecedented. I'm not a child. Yeah. I am 60 plus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same here.
I've been there since the Gambia gained independence. I've been there when Jawara had diplomats.
Exactly.
I've been there when Jammeh had diplomats, including Tangara himself.
Yes.
And I'm still here when Barrow has diplomats all over the place. You never heard such. I mean,
never.
I'm not saying such differences never existed between ambassadors and their ministers.
Right.
But as you said, they may have been taken care of behind the scenes.
Exactly. That's how it's supposed to be done. Yeah. You see, when I heard Fatmata Jahumpa Sise say on several remarks that she said about UDP.
Yeah, but you would expect
decency prevents me from
between an
here.
APRC, subscriber and UDP. The rivalry has been there from 1996.
When that happened, I wrote to the foreign ministry.
You should have copied it to me. Why didn't you?
Because I wouldn't have said these things because we do so much behind closed doors. I wrote to the foreign ministry, said this person must be recalled. Should be recalled or should be subjected to disciplinary action. You cannot accept an ambassador sitting there and calling hundreds of thousands of Gambians the name she called us. That is unacceptable.
Did you deliver the letter?
Directly to the minister's office and the permanent secretary. Okay. To date, we haven't had a response.
Well, I was going to ask whether you got any response, but do you expect any action on your letter?
I hope they will take action because this is unacceptable.
But she has apologized, hasn't she?
That doesn't count. I don't accept that apology because this is not the first, second, or third time. Even the first time is not acceptable, let alone more than 3 times. You sit there and you insult a whole community. Peter, you don't even insult a whole family, let alone a neighborhood or village or a country. This is the Gambia you're insulting. We are hundreds of thousands of supporters of UDP.
She might have insulted UDP. UDP is not the Gambia.
UDP is not the Gambia, but
Gambia is not UDP.
UDP cuts across the Gambia. UDP cuts across every segment of the Gambian population. The last election, even though they stole it, they themselves gave us 230-something thousand
people. They are saying, prove the theft. Come out with documents.
Well, the Supreme Court prevented us from doing that. We went there with our evidence. The Supreme Court killed the case. But even that, they gave us 230-something thousand people voting for us. And you call all of those people by that unsavory name? She should have been recalled forthwith. You know, Jammeh, in spite of all his flaws, when she went with him on a tour and she went on the podium and insulted Ousainou Darboe, Jammeh got her off the podium and sent her back to Banjul, in spite of all his flaws. And now she stands there on foreign land and insults Gambians in such a way. And she is still there?
She says she was betrayed because she had made these remarks in confidence with somebody she trusted.
Yeah,
and it was supposed to be between just two pairs of ears.
And that is
from her to him, and he went on allegedly to leak the audio.
That is what is so unbelievable, that she could even dare say that. I insulted them, and the insult shouldn't have come out. So the insult came out. Now she is apologizing. Look, this lady should be quiet. This was a lady who she was fired by Jammeh, went on air and said, I would even be a house girl for Jammeh at his place. Let him take me back.
That's belief. Everybody wants somebody that loyal, not so?
Well, that's the thing, you know, because these are the people who would put away their dignity and everything just to belong, just to be able to reap some of the benefits of power. And these are the people who will not speak truth to power. Those are people who will tell you exactly what you want to hear because they feel that they belong. And their supposed leader just points to them, these are our enemies, so let's just fight against them. So that's enough for them. They wouldn't think anymore. You know, I don't like to go into some of these discussions because they become so pedantic in the end, but this is what Nietzsche called the Übermensch, you know. So these people like Übermensch. Yeah. You know, the leader who will be there, who will tell them exactly what to do. Don't think.
Superhumans.
Yeah, don't think. Let me think for you. Just watch me, follow me, do what I do and say what I want to say. And then these are the enemies, fight against those people. So they fall into that category of people who have that herd mentality, who will do anything. We do not need that. We need people who can be independent and think very well. That's why I recommend to every Gambian I talk to, say, read Alhaji Barrow's book, We Are the Dictator.
Yeah, the dictator
is us.
Is us, yeah.
That's exactly the same thing. Very much in line with what Nietzsche was saying with his Übermensch. Read it. And maybe we should start thinking and changing from that point, stop being so subservient and start thinking for ourselves and working for ourselves and for the country. But no, with people like that, you don't get anything. That's why when somebody on one of these programs here said, I should debate with certain people, I said, no. I debate with only people who can bring something to the table and we discuss ideas.
Who would you like to debate in the Barrow government?
Well, I said it that day at the time, you know, bring me the finance minister, I would debate him. Bring me the chief justice, I would debate him. At the time we were dealing with this offshore mining, I said, bring me Minister of Environment. Silla, we came here, he chickened out and now he says, I don't want to debate him. If he wants to debate ideas.
Because he said he beat you hands down.
Yeah, that's what he wants to believe. So I can't help that. But, you know, I'd like to debate, but debate ideas, debate facts. To come with facts and figures. Let's debate. Stop trying to spin falsehoods. And that's, for example, that's what he did here all day that day when he sat here. And I was like, can these guys please stop? Do they think we are so dumb that we'll buy those sort of things? I mean, come on. He's supposed to be a cabinet minister. Don't devalue the position so much. You know?